to the Power of One. Today, we will be speaking with Eileen from the Germantown Crisis Ministry, who will be able to give us some resources for some of those who are suffering financially during this COVID-19 pandemic. So many people have lost their jobs. So many people have fell behind in their rent. So Eileen will shed a little bit of light on how they could possibly help some of those in need, which is very crucial. Welcome to the show, Eileen. Eileen, please give me the history of the Germantown Crisis Ministry.
Wow. Germantown Avenue Crisis Ministry has been operating since 1997. Back then, there were many people going door to door to different congregations, particularly those up in Chestnut Hill. And the clergy and others who answered the door were very compassionate and wanted to help. Sometimes it might be, giving somebody some money or whatever. And what the clergy that met regularly realized that some of them were the same people going from congregation to congregation. And they also realized that whatever they gave probably wasn't enough to address the real needs that the people had. So they felt they would be greater impact if they pooled their resources together to establish another location that was convenient for people to get to, and to pay for a social worker who could do more assessment as a part of the intake process and who would have more resources. And that basically is how Germantown Avenue Crisis Ministry came into being. These congregations put together the money. There was an expectation that in addition to the resources, that a social worker would be appropriate, because we would then draw on other community volunteers, many of whom would be retired, who would have other professional skills to help operate the ministry. And so now, 24 years later, we continue to operate out of the First Presbyterian Church in Germantown. That's right at the corner of Germantown and Shelton. Very convenient to public transportation, very convenient for people to walk to get here, because it's also situated in a neighborhood. And we have been doing our best to service our neighbors.
Okay, so now there's 3 programs available with the Germantown Crisis Ministry. So there's the housing assistance, food covered, and Thrive program. Please tell me about those 3 programs.
Well, overall, Germantown Avenue Crisis Ministry is also a neighborhood energy center. And that's under the umbrella of the Energy Conservation Agency. And in that capacity, we work to be a one-stop shop. So when somebody comes to us, we're not just looking at their housing issue or their utility issue or a need for more education. We're trying to do an intake that's going to overview everything. So when they come, we are asking everybody to bring proof of their income, their ID, so that we know who they are. We're asking them to bring their utility bills so that we can review those, as well as to any documents regarding their housing concerns. While our ministry can provide a small grant and sometimes even a full month of what you may be behind in, I think what is most important is that we get people to thinking about the big picture. If you are having a housing crisis, it's got to impact what's going on with your food. Are you not shopping because you're trying to put money to address your rent or your mortgage? Or are you struggling because you're working, but you need some help with budgeting? And that would be something that would be addressed under our Thrive education program. But as I said, as the Neighborhood Energy Center, that's kind of where we start. We ask people to come in. We're going to look at their bills. We're going to see what public programs they may be able to access to help them reduce their expenses. And we try to do a budget with everybody. A lot of times people don't even know that there are programs out there. There's CAP, there's the CR with the electric company, there's CRP with the gas company, there's TAP with the water department. All of these are programs that you're eligible for. You don't have to be behind. So we're trying to connect people to these programs that are out there. We give assistance when they need help doing those applications. Now, when they are here specifically for housing because they're behind in their rent or they're trying to address their mortgage, a big part of that is talking with them about what's happening in the household. Is the household appropriate? Is this a place where you want to stay? Is it affordable? Or do you really need to begin the process of looking to get another place that is more affordable? We talk to them about the imminent eviction. If you know that you can't catch up or you have broken some agreements and you're going to be evicted, we talk about preparing for that, making certain that you have your emergency bag that has all of your important documents, your ID, those type of things, because in order to get other services, you must have those things in hand. So a big part of what we do that makes our housing assistance and our utility assistance and our fire programs effective is an overall assessment, talking to people, meeting them where they are, giving them useful information so that they can be successful as they move forward. And a big part of it also is just giving people hope. These are hard times. And
they are. Yeah, we're living in hard times.
Yeah, it's very challenging. And the fact is, one way or another, you're going to get through this day. You're going to get through this month. You're going to get through this period. And we try to work with them to put together a plan so that they feel a little more in control. So often people feel that things are happening to them. But our goal is to help people understand that you can have agency and you have far more control than you may think. Our mission statement says we want to help our clients take that next step towards self-sufficiency. And sometimes success is accomplished just one step at a time. And unfortunately, sometimes they're backward steps, but then you can catch up and move forward. And we try to help people see that big picture and the hope and possibility as they begin to take control of different things in their circumstance. Yeah. Now, with our housing assistance, finding affordable rent is such a challenge, particularly in this area, Germantown, Mount Airy. We target Northwest Philadelphia, which are zip codes 19118, 19119, 19126, 19138, 19144, and 19150. This is a hot area in terms of lots of tenants, lots of rents are going up. Everywhere you turn, you see luxury apartments being built. But we have neighbors who are just struggling to pay their rent. We have neighbors who are dealing with landlords who are not necessarily maintaining the properties the way they should. And we have broader COVID issues where even if one were to call license and inspection about a property, they are slow coming out and making citations. So with our housing information, there's so much that we may need to address depending on what the circumstances that the client presents. And I think what makes us unique and effective is that we don't just have a boilerplate. We really work with people right where they are. We hear their concerns, and then together we try to navigate and find ways to address their crisis. And some of that may end up being providing some small financial grants. In general, our grant is about $400. And again, it depends on what resources we have available. But we'll partner with the client. We'll put our money with your money or with that of another agency. We may have to refer them to another program that we may know about. It really is a collaborative effort to try to get help to address those housing needs. And it's always very challenging for people with a mortgage, because ideally we want you to be able to sustain yourself moving forward. Whereas those with a mortgage, sometimes they're just trying to get this month paid, because that will really impact your credit and other things if you can't keep up with your mortgage. So again, we have some flexibility to work with clients in that situation. And primarily that's because we are not reliant heavily on government funds that can be very restricted in who you can help and how you can help. We really rely on private funds. Now, out of helping people with their crises, we realize that a big part that is missing is just education. People need to know more about budgeting. People need to know more about basic maintenance in their home. People need to know more about other public services that may be available and how to access them. And that's when we created Thrive, which stands for taking hold, reaching in, investing everything to take the next step towards self-sufficiency. And under that program, under that umbrella rather, we provide a variety of education events. Initially, the program started, and it really required about 20 hours where they did work on who am I, where am I, why, how did I get to this point in my life, and where do I want to go? And then there was a component on health and wellness. And then there was another component on financial management. But that model was so demanding of time, we realized that a lot of folks, and particularly those of our clients who were working, didn't have 20 hours, during the course of the day over a month and a half to contribute. So then we started breaking down some of the Thrive activities into 1-hour education sessions. And we actually ran a few during COVID where we did them outside. We brought somebody in to talk more in depth about budgeting and to connect people to one-on-one budget counseling. We would do workshops on energy awareness and saving, what to do, how to access those programs in partnership with PICO, giving out energy efficient light bulbs and things of that nature. Another program that is doing education for senior homeowners. So our Thrive umbrella is really about educating and having people here to answer folks' questions. Even when Medicare open enrollment, we bring somebody in to talk with people about what is the best supplemental insurance coverage that can help you meet your need. Under Thrive, we did education about COVID, and in partnership with another community agency, we held a vaccine event. And more recently in November, we did a booster event. So Thrive is about educating and helping folks take that next step towards self-sufficiency.
So now, how many employees do you have working for you? And can people just walk in? Can people just come to the Germantown Crisis Ministry, or do they have to call to set an appointment?
Okay, so we no longer provide walk-in service, and that is because of COVID. Right. We ask that people call our office. That's 215-843-2340 to make an appointment to come in. And we will do some pre-screening over the telephone to help them determine if now is the time to come or if you need to do some things, and then schedule an appointment for later. So we are doing in-office appointments. Our food cupboard operates on Thursdays, and that now takes place outside in our parking lot. We share food from 10 to 12. And of course, you don't need an appointment for that. You can just come up. In our building or when being serviced in the food cupboard, you do need to wear a mask. We're trying to keep everybody safe. In terms of our staffing, we have myself and a administrative assistant. We will be looking to pick up another social worker but currently we have 3 social work interns. We are also looking for another volunteer with social work experience who can do some of our direct work with clients. As I said earlier, the ministry is reliant on volunteers. And each week, our volunteers provide about 100 hours of volunteer service, coming in, setting up for the food cupboard or working in the office. So while we have a small staff, we do have excellent team members who provide really good service. They are highly skilled. They are trained in their particular area of expertise. I think of one of my volunteers, Mary, her area is doing rent rebates. And so we schedule her, folks come in. We have some others who are good at other applications, weatherization application. So volunteers are critical. And if anybody is interested in volunteering with particular skills, we will try to match your skill set and interest with the ministry. Having a small staff, we want to expand the staff, but it takes dollars to expand the staff.
That's true. Now, if someone was interested in volunteering at the Germantown Crisis Ministry, please tell them how they would do so, whether going online, calling your office. How would they volunteer?
If somebody is interested in volunteering, ideally they would call the office and our administrative assistant will connect them with a volunteer application and a conversation so that we can see where they are interested in serving. As you can imagine, in our office, people have access to certain confidential information, and in those roles, it is necessary that you have clearances. Working in the food cupboard, you don't have to do that. That's one where it's just being able to lift 20 pounds and, reach and stack, things of that nature. So we look at what your experience is, what our need is, and we try to match. Now, of course, during the holidays with Thanksgiving and Christmas, when we do a lot of baskets, of course, that is when we can use a lot of volunteers just getting that work done and put out.
Okay. And what is the hours of operation?
We are here Monday through Wednesday for social services. Our office opens at 9 and we close at 2. So that's when we schedule clients. And then the food cupboard is open Thursday with distribution from 10 to 12 out in our parking lot. In general, we are not here on Fridays. However, I always say we do not want people who are working to leave work to come here. When you make a phone call and talk with our administrative assistant or whoever answers, let us know what your need is. And if we can accommodate that, we will.
Okay. So Eileen, as you know, I reach out to you, reach out to your staff all the time because unfortunately, I am in contact with victims. If you are a victim of a crime, you can easily fall behind in your rent. You can easily fall behind in paying your utility bills, say if you were hospitalized. And it's hard. We're living in times today where the prices have been increased for everything. Tell me what happens if there's a victim on a Friday who is in need of services. Do you know other organizations or agencies like Germantown Crisis Ministry in the city of Philadelphia that people may be able to utilize?
Well, one of the benefits of Northwest Philadelphia up here where we are is that there are a lot of programs available. And we do work hand in hand with your agency, as well as what comes to mind is face-to-face. And face-to-face has weekend services. So there is somebody there that may be able to assist in a crisis. And their services are pretty comprehensive, like ours. And actually, in some situations, they are not zip code restricted in the way that we are. So that would be the place that I would reach out to Friday through the weekend, and they actually
Okay.
have on-site meals there as well. We recognize that the need is far greater than any one agency can resolve. And with that, we do the best that we can, and we partner with as many people as we can. And we understand that there's some people who we won't be able to meet their need in a timely way. And it's very painful. But
Right.
that's why, as a community, we need to understand what's going on with some of our neighbors. I have very much appreciated your organization. One, you are so accessible, and in a crisis, particularly with victims of crime, people need help right now. And so you are a great resource for us for some of that more immediate help. And then I would hope that we are a resource for you in that once they get out of that critical, vulnerable state, then we can go ahead and do some help moving forward. And I think about a client who you sent to us and we helped. And then in my assessment with her, I sent her back to you.
Yeah.
Because we are, cross-referencing, making certain that we can connect people to as many resources as possible. But we're here when we are, and our team, especially our volunteers, they need their time away so that Monday through Wednesday, we're fresh and on point. And as I said, face-to-face would be the next place that I think of who's going to have a person right there. And then there's some other agencies, Interfaith, Northwest Interfaith Movement. I think they just changed their name, but they are also a great resource because they have some major dollars from the city for housing stabilization. And that is a big issue when people are finding themselves displaced and they need some help to retain their housing or to move to a new place.
Yes. And I thank the Germantown Crisis Ministry. And as you said, there's not one agency that can do everything. So in servicing those in need, it may take multiple agencies. That's why collaboration is so great. So I do thank the Germantown Crisis Ministry. I thank Rachel from Interfaith, when, like you said, their name may be changed, and I will text and call Rachel in the evening, the weekends, and she always gets my call. So I thank her, and I utilize face-to-face as well. So Eileen, I thank you so much for joining me today. Keep up the good work. We need you. I really appreciate you and your staff. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, it has been my pleasure. And I want to say, I just so appreciate Northwest victims. And I appreciate your compassion in particular. You really feel for people. And once you're on it, you don't let go until it's resolved. And I have seen miracles come through you. It is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
I am so appreciative because you're doing some of the things that we can't do. And I'm just so grateful that you're there. And my prayer and wish is that we didn't live in an environment where victimization happens so frequently. But that's beyond our control. But we do our part to help. And I'm glad that we're working together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. Times have become extremely hard during the COVID-19 pandemic, where some people may have fell behind in their rent. The food prices are ridiculous. Gas prices are ridiculous. If you are in need of financial help, please reach out to some of the elected officials in your area or some of the places that you know that may be able to offer assistance. I am praying for your peace, and I am praying for your well-being. Peace and blessings.